Let's be honest, we are all drowning in data. We've got spreadsheets, reports, customer files, it's everywhere. But turning all that raw data into a story that you can actually use, well, that's always been the tricky part. It usually meant you needed a specialist, someone who could speak the language of Python or R. But what if you could just ask? What if you could have a conversation with your data in plain English? Today, we're going to look at how AI tools like Claude are completely flipping the script on data analysis. Okay, so here's the game plan. First, we'll get our heads around what this new AI-powered approach is all about. Then, we're going to get our hands dirty. We'll take a totally raw, messy data file, and step by step, we'll clean it up, make sense of it with visuals, and even use it to predict what's coming next. And the best part? We're going to do all of it without writing a single line of code. So, let's just set the stage here for a second. For decades, if you wanted to analyze data, you had to enter a pretty technical world. It was kind of locked behind this big wall of complex programming languages. This first section is all about that fundamental shift, moving away from that old world and into a new one where you can just have a conversation. Now, this slide really tells the whole story, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the old way. You're installing software, you're trying to remember the right syntax, you're debugging code. It's a whole process. And on the right, you just upload a file and you start talking to it. The barrier to entry has completely dissolved. We're moving from rigid, unforgiving commands to just natural human language. Okay, every single data project, and I really mean every project, starts with the least glamorous but most critical step, cleaning the data. It's tedious, it takes forever, and honestly, it's where a lot of great ideas go to die. So let's see how an AI assistant tackles this head-on. And here is a perfect example of the problem. Just take a look at this raw sales data. You see those dollar signs in the order total column? To a computer, that means it's just text. You can't actually do any math with it. And then look at the order date column. You've got missing values, different formats all over the place. This is a classic messy data set, a real headache. So how do we fix all this? I mean, in the past, this would mean firing up some code, writing scripts to find and replace all those characters, reformatting the dates. But now, you just ask. It's almost funny how simple it is. This one simple conversational question is literally all it takes to get the entire cleaning process started. And this is where the magic really happens. Claude doesn't just sit there and wait for you to find all the problems. It actually scans the file and comes back with a full diagnosis. It found the exact issues we just saw, the currency symbols, the messy dates, and it even found some things we might have missed, like extra spaces in the column names. It's kind of like having an expert data analyst sitting right next to you, pointing things out. So you give it the go-ahead, maybe with just a simple, yep, sounds good, and this is what you get. Just like that. The dates are all standardized, the dollar signs are gone, the columns are named perfectly, your data is now clean, it's structured, and it is ready for some real analysis. That whole tedious process that used to take hours, yeah, that just happened in a few seconds. All right, our data is squeaky clean. Now we can finally get to the fun part. Asking the questions that we actually care about. This is where we stop preparing and we start discovering. We're about to turn that clean data into some really clear visual insights. We're going to start with a really simple, high-level business question. Notice, there are no formulas here, no talk of pivot tables, just a straightforward question in plain English. This is exactly the kind of question a manager or a CEO would ask in a meeting. And almost instantly, you get an answer. And it's not buried in some table, it's a super clear, intuitive chart. I mean, the difference is just stark. It is immediately obvious that business customers are the ones driving the revenue here, bringing in a massive $6.5 million. But here's the kicker. It's not just a little more. Business customers generate 19 times more revenue. That's huge. And this isn't just some fun fact you share at the water cooler. This is a powerful strategic insight that could totally reshape a company's entire marketing and sales focus. But it doesn't even stop there. What's wild is that from that one single question, Claude will often generate a whole dashboard of related charts. It'll show you things like average order value, the number of orders, revenue share. It's like it anticipates your next questions and just gives you a complete picture, turning one simple question into a full-blown analysis. Okay, this is where things get really, really cool. We've been looking at what happened in the past, but what about the future? Now we're wading into the deep end of the pool, forecasting and statistical hypothesis testing. The kind of stuff that used to be exclusively for data scientists with years of training.
So the big question is, can an AI tool that you just talked to actually do something as complex as forecasting? Can it really take 2 years of sales data and tell you what's likely to happen next quarter? Well, the answer is a big, resounding yes.
Take a look at this prompt. It's specific, for sure, but it's still just a conversation. The key thing to realize here is you don't have to know how to code a Sarima model, which, by the way, is a pretty complex method for forecasting over time. You just have to know to ask for it. You name the tool, and Claude does all the heavy lifting for you.
And this power goes way beyond just prediction. What if you have a hunch, a theory about your business that you really want to prove with data? Maybe you feel like one product category is just crushing the others, but you need actual statistical proof. Well, you can just ask that directly. And this is not the same as asking which one is bigger. This is a much more sophisticated statistical question. You're asking, is the difference I'm seeing a real thing, or could it just be random chance? And there's the payoff, a clear, confident yes. But the most powerful part is what's happening behind the scenes. Claude saw that the sales data wasn't a perfect bell curve, so it automatically chose and ran the right kind of statistical test, a non-parametric one, to give you a result you can actually trust. It's not just a calculator, it's acting like a real statistical expert. So let's zoom out. What does this all add up to? We've seen an AI clean, explore, visualize, and even run advanced models on data. It's time to think about the bigger picture and what this new way of working means for, well, pretty much anyone who works with information. This slide basically recaps our whole journey. You start with a messy file, then, through a series of simple, plain English prompts, you end up with predictive models and insights that are backed by real statistics. This entire workflow, from start to finish, is now open to anyone, whether you know how to code or not. And that really brings us to the final thought here. For so many years, the amazing stories hidden inside our data were locked away, and only a few people had the key. But now, the key is just your own curiosity. The tools finally speak our language. So the only real question left is, what are you going to ask?